Hello and welcome to the channel. I am here with just a quick video because I felt, inspired to talk a bit about brand building, brand creation, revamping your brand, and writing your brand story after watching a really great video by Myron Golden, who I will link the video down below so that you guys can go and watch it for yourself. But he definitely speaks a lot about business, being an entrepreneur, being successful, etc. So if that tickles your fancy, if you're interested, I would say 100% go and check out Myron Golden. I definitely watch his videos from time to time when I find myself in a slump, or if I just have my playlist on YouTube on random for some background noise. But the video came up this morning, and it's really about turning your brand into a multi-million-dollar brand or a billion-dollar brand or just a big successful brand. And sort of in talking about how you can expand a brand, I thought that the video did a really good job at covering just what some of the fundamentals are when it comes to building a brand or creating a brand. And so I just wanted to speak a little bit about that. And a lot of the fundamentals that he spoke about, that he covered, I think are relevant to anyone who is going to be creating a brand, building a brand, has their own brand, writing a brand story. And so I just wanted to share some of the takeaways that really stuck with me on my channel here for anybody that might be on this side of the YouTubes that's looking for that information. So stay tuned. All right, so first things first, the definition of a brand according to Myron, right? A brand is a name that reminds you of a story, according to Myron Golden. And a premium brand is a brand that tells such a good story that it makes you want to pay money in order for you to see yourself inside of that story. And so one of the brands that he uses as an example is Nike. And I think Nike is one of the first examples that almost anyone would probably think of in any sort of conversation around brands or branding, because Nike is such a huge global brand that I think you would be really hard pressed to find someone who has not heard of Nike. That's like someone who hasn't heard of Jesus. But Nike, as an example, how they sort of tell and demonstrate their brand story is by hiring some of the best athletes when they're in their underdog era, if you haven't noticed, and then sort of taking them and putting them on display, and of course in all of their Nike gear as they're coming up to become the greatest of all time, right? And some other notable brands that I think have stories that are pretty synonymous with their names include, excuse me, Brooks Brothers. I would say Lululemon, maybe not our favorite, but perfect for this conversation. Mercedes, Lexus, a lot of those car brands, because people are very personally attached to their cars. So those brands tend to, I think, have very strong stories. There's also, Polo, Ralph Lauren. And I think, again, all of those brands, as I list them off, you immediately have a story, an image, a lifestyle that comes to mind that you can immediately relate to that brand and to that brand story and what it is that they represent. Myron also refers to the brand name as a stage name, which I thought was a really cool way for kind of putting all of the things, everything about your brand and the importance of creating a strong story into perspective. It is your ta-da stage name. It is your representative. It's what people know you as. It's your rising sign. It's how you move around the world and how you interact with your customers. So what is your stage name and what is your story? And when you're thinking about your brand story, some questions that you might want to ask about are questions that your audience or your customer base are going to ask when they're thinking about you. So, who sent us? What is your authority? I think is the question that came up in the video, but that can really just be, What is your credibility? Why should people listen to you? Why should people believe that you know what you're talking about and that you'll actually be helpful? Another item to think about is what makes your brand recognizable. So, images, pictures, symbols. How will people know that it is you when they encounter your brand? So, now that we've really established what a brand is, which is a name that causes you to think of a story, within the video, there were what I surmised, and again, this video is not about the fundamentals of brand building, it's about taking a brand and making it a multi-million dollar brand. But I think that when I watched the video and I just sort of heard all of this good information, my brain sort of segmented it into three components that you can sort of organize the work necessary to do if you are going to be building up your brand and creating a brand that is going to be prolific and recognizable to your customers, to your audience, to your core base. So, three components, or really three areas to think about as you are reviewing your brand and really strategizing on how you want to make it prolific and make it something that is recognizable to your core, to your customer base, to your target demographic. So, component or area number one of thinking about your brand, looking at your brand, is writing your story. You really can't go anywhere, I think, without first establishing your story. So, what do you want your story to be? Who do you want to be in your story? What is the role that you play in your story? What is the mythology of your brand? Again, what makes your brand legendary? What makes you bigger and better than your competitors? And what got you all started? What motivated the brand to do what they do today in the first place? All right. Another good question is really, why should anyone work with you? Okay. So these are all questions that should be covered within your brand story. No one should hear your brand story and be wondering what the answers are to any of the questions that I just listed. Now, part two of building out your brand or reestablishing your brand, if you do have an existing brand, is pretty basic because it's pictures, it's images, it's what are people going to take away to show off, to show that they've purchased something from you, that they've attended an event, that they've participated in something. What is something that they can take to show off, to say that they've stood next to you if you yourself are the brand, or if it's not a person-centered brand, again, proof that a person participated, attended, collaborated, joined forces with you. These are things like trinkets, pens, photos from a photo booth, or maybe just creating a photo friendly, Instagram friendly area if it is a live event. This could be merchandise, this could be branded accessories. And then I think something that's really important to think about in 2024 is, how can any of the images that you share be then reshared digitally, whether it be in a photograph, or if it's a token, or if it's an NFT, or if it's some sort of a badge or a square that somebody can post to their gallery, or something that they can include in a video that they have like special access or license to use. These are all things to think about. How can people walk away with a tangible piece of your brand for themselves? What memorabilia do you create or do you make available for your customers? Now, item 3 on our list is going to be how our brand story lends itself to others. How can others take our brand story and our images to help themselves? How do others benefit from our brand? How can they leverage us? Essentially, how can other brands, people, customers, companies, whatever it is, how can they use us? Ethically, of course, but really, we want to make ourselves available for use. So, how can we be used and how can we be leveraged? Now, Once you determine the big selling points of your brand, how it helps people to look good, how it helps people in a really big way, and how your brand can really go along with folks or teams or companies on their own journey of success, once you get the answers to all of those questions, that is then the finalized and complete message and story that you then go out and proliferate and shout from the hilltops, from the mountaintops. Like that is really it. Okay, that is your Cadillac of a story. Now, as you're working on this, if you do feel yourself getting stuck or losing focus, I think a really useful exercise is going to be to actually list out all of the things that you personally, or you and your team, because we love a group effort, but all the things that you or you all think make your brand extraordinary. And then start to think about the look and feel, the types of images that you want to put into the atmosphere about your brand. So then start to think about how it helps people. But really, I think list all the things that I think move you about your own brand and let that motivate you to start to do some of this work. And I also just want to state that this process, whether you're starting from the beginning, whether it's day zero and you haven't launched yet, or if you're watching this video and you're going to take it and rewatch it again and use it as inspo in order to make an adjustment or to pivot, this process should build excitement in you, okay? You should be so excited to do this work. Talking about your brand and brainstorming ideas on how you want to share the good news of your brand and your brand story should create the most infectious energy within you and within your team. And if it doesn't, you all are in the wrong place. Point blank, period, wrong place. Move along. Another tip, as you prepare to really relaunch your brand and its revamped identity, also make sure to put procedures in place to really rush all of this new engagement that you're going to get, because you're going to get like 100 times more engagement, 500 times more engagement once you do, of course, revamp your story. But make sure you have a procedure and process in place so that folks, when they come to see you, when they hear about you and they're excited, that they get redirected or triaged to the correct funnel or to the correct channel, so that they can then take the next step to further engage with you, so that they can then take the next step to further activate themselves with you and get engaged, make a purchase, start a transaction, become a lead, whatever it is, however it works on your end. But anytime you make a change, whenever you're implementing any sort of change, always prepare yourself and prepare your teams for disruptions. Prepare for questions, prepare for inquiries, prepare for website visits. Make sure that you've got information handy. Make sure that you're going to be ready to respond when the people get excited as you are right now, about the great work that you're trying to do, about the amazing product that you're trying to build, about the services that you're trying to get out there and get to the customers who are in need of your special talents, your special gifts, whatever it is that you have to offer. And lastly, I will say that as you continue to think about how you want to grow and evolve your brand, I would just like to ask all the owners, founders, leaders out there to please remember, please remember your target audience, okay? Never forget your target audience, your demographic, or your core, or how you got started. This is so important, I think, to maintaining an authentic identity as a brand. And also in really retaining that loyal customer base, those folks who are going to come back to you month after month, week after week, whatever your life cycle happens to be. Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. I do hope that you find yourself back on the channel in the near future. In the meantime, have fun, take risks, and be good to your community. And please share this video if you think it might inspire someone you know. And please like this video if you enjoyed any part of it at all. Thanks again for being here. Stay well.